want to start this week a little different. There, you know, inside the ring this week, not a lot going on there, but there was tons and tons and tons of stuff going on outside the ring. Probably the most notable thing that I came across with this was the announcement. And it was kind of funny how this thing was announced because it sounded like it was supposed to be announced on Raw, but ended up getting leaked sooner in the day, which, it happens. But NXT is officially moved from a 1 hour pre taped show to a 2 hour live show every Wednesday, I believe starting in the middle of September or October. Uh,
September 18, I believe.
September 18th, okay. Um, so the one of the most notable things aside from the extra hour and the live show is that it will exclusively be on USA.
Not exclusively.
Okay,
I mean, live it will be, but
live it will be.
next day the replay will be on the network.
Okay, the next day it will be on the network. So, um, I think this is kind of interesting for two reasons. One, I do have the network and I watch it live on the network, but I also watch it live on Hulu the same exact day that it's aired. So it's going to be interesting to see now that they're exclusively live on USA Network that then everything's going to be shifting to the next day apart. So I think that's interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, a smart move to start because they have that luxury because they can do it. They're starting 2 weeks before AEW, so they're establishing their product right away. One thing that I saw that I don't know if it was Meltzer or Brian Alvarez was saying, it was like WWE by putting NXT on national television on Wednesdays, they're establishing Wednesdays as a wrestling day, like they've established Monday and Tuesdays, and they're SmackDown's going back to Fridays, but there's a lot of people watching right now that used to watch when SmackDown was on a Friday, so it was like it's no problem. But Wednesday was never a wrestling day for the average wrestling fan, or really like the the viewers that tune in every once in a while. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. They're establishing that day for NXT, but they're doing the same thing for AEW. They may be doing it for NXT, but it's wrestling. It's grouped up together, so it also kind of helps AEW. So I question the decision, not just because of that, but most of all, NXT is a developmental show. Um, what's gonna happen? They say it won't change. Triple H will still be in charge, but here's the thing: where things might not change, but how do you use NXT as a developmental show when you have to focus it to be a national TV show, an actual third brand, much like SmackDown and Raw? Because you can't do those experiments and like try things out like you did in the past. Like you can't stick someone in to see how they handle being on live TV, um, and then just pluck them out. Like I remember Sami Callihan when he was in NXT.
Yep, had that
They,
hacking
they
gimmick.
yeah, they tried him out, didn't work. They pulled him right back. That won't work when there's people like on the network. It's one thing, but like on national TV, you gotta have a consistent product, and people will notice and people will complain when things like that happen. So I question the decision to make NXT developmental show, but now an actual third brand. But it will affect the show. No matter what people say, it will affect the show. Going 2 hours, it will affect the show. Because to me, NXT, if it had to expand time wise, it would be to 90 minutes, never 2 hours.
Right.
But to be honest, because of how commercials work in the US, it is 90 minutes of actual NXT and like 30 to 45 minutes of commercials, something like that. It's like
Yeah,
30 minutes.
sounds about right.
So yeah, it's the show is 90 minutes, but even that might be a bit too much, because then what's going to happen? Are matches going to be longer? Or are they going to put in more matches? Are they going to focus more on people that aren't really prepared? Are they going to keep that experimentation uh, portion of the show going? Because that's the. I think I saw someone say they have like 98 or 99 people at the performance center ready to go. That you can consider part of the NXT roster. And what's the actual NXT TV roster? It's like
Right.
30 people,
About
40 people?
30 people, and then they exchange. I think that uh, they exchange talent every other week or every 3 weeks. Like they have a rotation schedule between those that show up on TV. So really, you're probably looking at about 15 wrestlers all the way through. So my thing is, your format's going to definitely change, despite what WWE is saying. The format has definitely have to change, because the way that it's currently formatted is that it's a rotation schedule in terms of storylines and the people that are actually on there. So the only way that you're going to actually get this to work is to either bring up the ones that are not green, and just have them consistently compete with no storyline, or, and this is what Goose had alluded to last year, and this was actually one of his predictions in the Great Debate, is that you're going to end up having to collapse 205 Live and bring that talent over to NXT and and build upon that. And I kind of felt like with the tournament that they had, it kind of helped bridge that, sort of kind of bridge that gap to where we would see that, because you have to remember, 205 Live is actually coming out on Wednesdays now instead of Tuesdays right after SmackDown like it used to. Um, to me, it would
Is
only.
it?
I think
Because I've been
so.
watching it after SmackDown.
Okay, I thought that they switched that. It's been a while since I
They
watched it,
did
but
that for a while, but they said
they
switched it
switched it
back.
back. Okay, so I haven't seen it since then, and that's my bad. And I love NXT too. I mean, 205 Live too. So, but I think that's ultimately where you're gonna have to go with this, is that you're going to ultimately combine 205 Live with NXT, and I think that with the combination of those storylines along and them benefiting from being in a smaller environment, I think that you can make a full show between the two brands.
Yeah, because 205 Live is just not working. They really don't know how to use it. They put on some matches. There's like a couple of storylines, and only like one or only one is like interesting, and it's usually the title picture. So it's not working.
Yeah.
And there's already rumors that 205 Live is going to go bye bye, and I completely understand. It's the worst brand in WWE, unfortunately, and it sucks because that has a lot of great talent.
Yeah, and
But it's not the talent's fault.
and it's not. I love 205 Live. I absolutely love it, and I think that they do a pretty good job within that 1 hour that they have to put on storylines. But the problem is that they suffer because you're putting it on the network. It's kind of an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. It's not incorporated with any of the brands whatsoever. And it's ultimately suffering from that perspective. Like, fans are not engaged in it because they don't see it. Um, we can't say it's the talent, right? Because we've got arguably three of the best 205 Live people that are on the current roster right now that are putting on phenomenal matches. One that was in the title picture at one point in Ali. Then we have Buddy Murphy, who just came out, had two phenomenal matches 2 weeks in a row. One with Roman Reigns and the other with Daniel Bryan, who got a victory this week. And then we have Mustafa Ali. We have it's Cedric Alexander, who's had a phenomenal run with Drew Gulak. So I mean,
McIntyre,
McIntyre.
I believe.
So they can go, and Drew Gulak is just like the GOAT, like in the making. Like, don't even get me started
Yeah.
on that aspect of it. But I think that if you put them in a smaller environment, I think that they will benefit ultimately. And you can do a lot. I worry about the bloat on the titles on NXT now that if they do end up going that route, you're going from 3 titles to 4 titles overall in a small brand. So
Oh yeah, no, the cruiserweight championship's going away, and I
yeah,
think it's going to be a unification.
yeah, and
It's
I
going
think
to be unified with the NXT championship.
yeah, or unified with the North American title. I think it'd probably be more in line with the North American title than it would the
Could be.
NXT. But I mean that's what I think about that, man. So I mean I like it. I mean I understand that they're trying to compete against NXT or AEW, and I don't know if I would really consider that to be true competition in a sense, just because one's developmental and the other one is really a promotion. But it'd be good to see on paper, and I'm definitely interested to see how that goes. It does. I like the fact, like in hindsight, Joao, I like the fact that Fandango and Apollo Cruz and what's his name, Tyler Breeze, are
Yeah.
actually being utilized in NXT. For it seems like this is the reason why they've been asked to go back there, is to kind of help
Yeah.
relaunch NXT when it goes live. So
And it should be a thing that happens more often.
yeah,
Like, why wouldn't Rusev take advantage of that? Why wouldn't a guy like Heath Slater take advantage of that?
oh
They're not being really used,
yeah,
so
and
why not?
they're being spotlighted on a Wednesday, the middle of the week. I mean,
And like now, it's not even a demotion because first of all, NXT contracts are getting upgraded to main roster contracts.
nice.
It's what the rumor mill is spouting out, and these guys now are gonna make a lot more money, and that's one of the things. Because I did a video last week about what the positives and negatives of NXT going on television,
Hmm.
and the positives were it highlights the future of the company in a bigger and better way than actually just being on the network. It's like it's putting it out there. If Raw and SmackDown are like the big shows, NXT is the future. If you want to see the future, you watch on Wednesdays.
All right.
So like that's great. And the one of the biggest things, and I think it's 30 million that USA is paying WWE for NXT. NXT is now making money. It didn't. NXT was kind of a money sink for WWE,
Yeah.
like NXT and the Performance Center, because it's not things that make money. They're
Right.
there to make stars and to make sure that the future of the company is there right at their fingertips. They don't have to rely on the independence. Of course,
It's a
most of the
capital
time it does.
expense. It's not meant
Yeah,
to be an investment. I mean,
it's an
uh,
investment on the
it's
future.
an investment in the future. So yeah, you're going to take those expenses. It's kind of like research and development, right? Before you actually have a full product out on the line, you got to do the R&D. Your R&D is never going to make the money, right? It's always going to be, what culminates from that R&D is going to make that money in the future. So
And I mean, look at the current main roster and how many of those guys came from NXT.
yep,
Right?
yeah,
It
no,
it works. So that they're existing the PC and NXT, it's already paid off in stars. Now it's gonna pay off actual money, which is great for the company. They like to make money, I heard. And
that is the rumor.
and then another show on national television makes and especially because of takeovers and how they're touted as some of the best shows WWE produces, gives more reasons to subscribe to the WWE network. So like takeovers are not just like network specials; they can be pay-per-views. Actually, they can now be sold on pay-per-view. Another way to make money, even though I don't think there's a lot of people that still watch wrestling on pay-per-view, at least WWE pay-per-views.
No, not WWE pay-per-views, especially with it being just it's literally free for anyone who doesn't have it, and then $9 a month. So,
Yeah, but those are the positives. Then there's the negatives, and like I said, NXT is developmental. So how's that going to work? Like
yep,
I said before, um, it is a third brand, but it's never going to be at the same level as Raw or SmackDown. It's always going to be I remember like there was I don't know what year it was, the video game was SmackDown versus Raw featuring ECW. I don't know what year it was.
I think it was like
It was like
06 or
it's
'07.
something like that. It's never gonna be Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. It's gonna be always like Raw, SmackDown, and then at the bottom and NXT
Yeah,
is here.
and
Well, yeah,
NXT.
it's always gonna be like that. And then there's the thing that they're being treated as main roster stars now. So the product, it's gonna have some restrictions because it's on national television that it didn't have when it was on the network, like what they can do, what they can say, and how far they can go with some stuff.
Right.
And on the network, it was their platform; they controlled it. On USA, they have to abide by their rules, which is not a big issue because they already do that for our SmackDown, but that might impact the product overall. So
Yeah, I think they'll need to do a better job of cross promoting though, especially going into the early weeks of the NXT. Have a Kevin Owens go down there for a little while, and I venture to say I kind of thought that maybe him getting fired would have amounted him going to NXT and just kind of heading that brand for a little bit, like just kind of anchoring it until maybe Survivor Series or whatnot. But you know, you never know.
speaking of Survivor Series, do you think since it's going to be in November, right?
Yes. No.
Uh,
Yes. November. Yeah.
So do you think already going to be treating NXT as a third brand, and we'll have Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT in three-way elimination matches?
I don't think I think we'll save that probably for next year. Like War
Right.
Games is still a staple, and I think that if you're gonna do that, you bring War Games like a true War Games to the WWE, and just do it that way versus a traditional Survivor Series, or just for that particular match, or maybe bringing them down. But I wouldn't do it this year. I don't think it would be a smart play to do it year one. I think that would be a smarter play to do that year two, once they're completely established. You build your star, who's going to be running things and rough shot, and then do maybe some invasion angle going into 2020, and then setting it up for War Games. So I venture to say that that's probably it's a good idea, but I just think it would be too soon to do it now.
But
Um,
there's something we can do right away, which is we have Clash of Champions coming up.
yeah,
Why not have an NXT title match
I
at the show?
agree. I agree, man. I honestly, Clash of Champions has traditionally been booked as all championships on the line. So I expect for the United States, sorry, for the North American title to be there. I expect for the NXT UK Championship to be there. I expect for the NXT Championship to be there in some form or capacity, whether it's on pre-show or not. Like I expect that to be there because that's the way this card is supposed to be built. But I don't. I mean, with WWE, it's kind of hit or miss, man. Like, um, I mean, they got the King of the Ring that's going to be crowned there. They've got a couple of women's segments that are away from the title that may be there. So I don't know, man. I would love it to be there, but I don't know if they'll go that route, man. It just seems like they're not consistent in that front.
Yeah, but it would definitely help. And if they want to compete with AEW, they need to use, their kind of cross promotion, which is
Yes,
promoting NXT
that's their
on Raw and SmackDown.
that's their strongest asset right now is the ability for them to cross promote every brand.
Which still I don't understand. I mean, I think I do, and I'm gonna tell you why. I still don't understand why they didn't do the announcement on Raw. I think it was just because Meltzer reported that it was gonna be on Raw, so they were like, "Well, since you've leaked this, just to make a fool out of you, we'll wait 12 hours and announce it in the morning,
Yeah,
like, and then promote it on SmackDown." I mean, Raw is the main show. Something's coming to the USA Network. And you're gonna promote the new USA Network show on a program that's going to Fox. I'm, I'm like, come on, like it's Raw. Why not? It made no sense.
I hear you. Let me ask you just a quick devil's advocate question. How do you think, or should AEW respond in any aspect to this whatsoever?
They've always said it's not a war. So their response should be no response.
No
Uh,
response.
they should just, and this is the thing, they have to, because I see a lot of people criticizing like AEW for, oh, they keep taking pokes and making jokes at WWE, and it pisses people off for some reason. But like, and in this scenario, at this point, every time this happens, AEW benefits from it
Yep.
because it gets buzz. And if WWE replies in any way, they're the ones picking at the small startup company.
Yeah.
So in any scenario at the moment, AEW benefits from all kinds of uh, from any sort of reaction from WWE. This announcement benefited AEW, and oh, it's going to be competition. Yeah, but WWE admitted themselves AEW is a threat. It's competition.
Yep.
So all they have to do now is go, well, we'll let our product speak for itself and just do what they're doing. They don't have to like do anything special. They just have to deliver what they've been promising.
Right.
Which is their product is going to be different, it's going to be for the fans. That's all I expect from them.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you, man. They need to shoot their shot on their own lane. Don't worry about the WWE at this point in time. Like WWE is giving them lip service as it is. And for those who get upset about AEW taking shots, WWE takes just as many shots on them as well, whether it's through commentary or whether it's Triple H shooting on Billy Gunn for not showing up at a reunion show and not being told. Like, it goes both ways. So you shouldn't be outraged just because AEW is a little bit more vocal on that aspect of it. But I really don't understand that argument. But but before we get off of the NXT train, I wanted to talk about NXT UK. We talked before the show started that there is a pay-per-view coming up, and I knew that is it Cardiff?
NXT UK Takeover Cardiff.
Cardiff. Okay.
In Wales.
Yeah, in Wales. So I have to admit, man, and this is I love everyone that's on that roster. I love Walter. I love Tyler Bate, Wolfgang. Devin, Rhea Ripley, Gonzalez. Like, I love them all on there. But I have to admit, man, since the launching of it, I haven't had the time to actually sit down and watch a show, like one show from them itself. And I'm hoping that this doesn't. I'm hoping that they're not hedging their bets on the United States audience for watching the program to keeping it afloat. Does that make sense?
I mean, first of all, they're broadcasting it on the network at a reasonable time for us Europeans. They're putting it on at 8 p.m. our time, so which is something that's kind of weird for us because we usually watch WWE programming starting at midnight or 1 in the morning. It's always been like that.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
We consume a lot here in America. I'm sorry, man.
There was a time, though, that when WWE came to the UK for shows, there was someone, I think there was a Russian guy, that managed to intercept the signal being sent from the arena where Raw was being taped and then sent back to Stamford to be broadcasted on the USA Network at the right time because they're in the UK. They're not gonna do live Raw. They're gonna go on tape delay. So there was a time where I watched a completely unedited with production sound Raw. So like I could hear like producers talking and
Nice.
talking to commentators. It was so weird, but at the same time so great. It also turned me off from actually wanting to go see Raw live or SmackDown because the audience gets bored because when there's a commercial and there's not a match in the ring, you do nothing. You just sit on your hands and you wait.
Music
I don't know
plays
if you've ever
really,
been
really
to-
low. Yeah.
Oh, you've been?
Yeah,
So
I've
you
been
know
I've
I
been
was
live,
lying.
man. Yeah, I've been live a couple of times, man. We get it too, man. It's just they sit in the ring and they're just kind of like dancing, and then like 30 seconds before the start, the music starts to come up again, and we're supposed to act like, oh, the commercial didn't
Yeah.
actually happen. So no, I get it, man.
Uh, but bringing it back to NXT UK, they have it on a time where it's nice for us. It's convenient for us to watch. The thing about NXT UK is it's being run by the guys who do Progress Wrestling,
Okay.
which is a product that is amazing in that the format that they have, like the chapters and the shows they do, and they have some secondary shows every once in a while.
Yep.
They do that really well. A weekly show, it's not working because I watch it and most things are like not that interesting. Like only the really top guys and the best performers are like interesting. So Zach Gibson, everything he does, every promo he does, I'm there because he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The Imperium,
Yep.
the new stable,
Well, Walter, Wolf, and
yeah, and Eichner, and
Eichner. Yep.
I'm forgetting someone.
Alexander Wolf, Eichner, and Walter.
No, it's
And there's
one more.
One more.
Barthel.
Barthel.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Genetti.
4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's absolutely
not.
not.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding.
But that stable's really good.
Yeah, it is.
It's Ring Camp basically from WXW, which
Okay.
it's great. But yeah, they're basically feuding with British Strong Style, with Tyler Bate and Trent Seven, and now Dunn's not even there, so it's on Walter's shoulders to carry that show.
Okay.
But the rest of it is like kind of dry and not really interesting, and it's upsetting because like their women's division is in shambles. Like there's Rhea Ripley, there's Toni Storm, there's Kaylee Ray,
Shea Brookside is there, I think, right?
there's my girl Killer Kelly,
Killer Kelly.
my friend, and they don't use her, which pisses me off completely, and I'm sure it pisses her off.
Yeah.
It it just it's not interesting to watch. Like Takeover, I'm sure it'll be great, but it's not that interesting. I don't think they're and it's a taped show. I'm not saying they should go live. No, they shouldn't. They need to go like to reevaluate how they're producing that show and how they're putting things together because the storylines really they aren't clicking. Like I remember when they made the first NXT UK tournaments.
Yeah.
To crown the first champion.
Yep.
The
Loved
buzz
it.
around that tournament was so great.
It was amazing.
And even the second one was pretty damn good. But when they started doing the weekly TV,
just
I
kind of
don't know what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll turn it around, man, because I do think it's a great product. I love the talent that's actually on there itself, and I hope that it is. I hope that the lifeline of the show is really dependent on the UK audience viewership and not the US. Just because I know that there's not a lot of people here that watch it, and it's a shame. That's a travesty, and I'm kind of on that.